Odyssey is nearly upon us. The alpha release is now less than 10 days away, and in the lead up towards that, Frontier have been releasing almost daily images. So far, we have 4 separate images of different tools that will be available in the game, so today we're going to take a look at those and talk a little bit about the alpha itself. In no particular order then, the first tool is the Genetic Sampler. This was perhaps the first tool we saw in all of the Odyssey footage revealed back during one of the first dev diaries. This tool will be used to scan the various life that can be found on planetary surfaces around the galaxy. For the most part, this life will be flora or organic life forms. Basically though, plants and the like. However, it's worth pointing out that life takes strange forms in the elite galaxy. For example, the crystalline shards. These already exist in Horizons and are the product of microorganisms. In short, flora is very likely to take on many unusual forms. The game already has brain trees and space pumpkins, for example, so absolutely anything is possible. The Genetic Sampler will be used to scan these plants in order to gather data. As confirmed in previous Q&As, the data can then be handed in at a station to the department known as Vista Genomics. So far, there's no information on how players will locate flora. However, keep in mind that there's already an existing method in-game for locating organic sites, so it's more than possible that the same process will be involved. Perhaps among the best tools in any space-themed game is Dead Space's Plasma Cutter, an unrivaled tool of exceptional practical use as well as complete destruction. Whilst Odyssey won't be following Dead Space's dismemberment policy, the game will have a cutting tool. In Odyssey, this is called the Arc Cutter. We saw it in action in the heist mission, where the player cut into a panel in order to gain access to sensitive controls. We've also seen it in use in a dev diary. Additionally, previous Q&As have explained that the cutting tool will be able to cut into objects as a way of looting resources. So in short, it seems it's going to be very valuable and a very important tool. Now, that's not all. Eagle-eyed forum goer Fenster noticed something very specific about this tool. We can see here that the AR interface states that the Arc Cutter is in cutting mode. The implication here being that the tool has more than one mode. If that's the case, then what might the other mode be? Just maybe then, it's remotely possible that just as with Dead Space, Odyssey's cutting tool might also be able to be used as a weapon. I guess we'll have to see. Now, we also know that some of the other tools have secondary modes, more on that in just a moment. The interesting question then is whether weapons would also come with alt-firing modes. Now, the Profile Analyzer is a tool that we haven't yet seen in action. We know what it does, at least in principle, but we've yet to see it actually occur. The Profile Analyzer then will allow you to scan a target to gather basic data on them. In principle, it sounds as though it will behave very similarly to targeting and scanning another ship whilst in space. The Analyzer does have an additional function, however. It's able to clone security profiles from the target. Now, we see in this clip that the door is locked. On this occasion, the players chose to force the door open. However, notice the number above the panel. That's the door's security rating. Anyone with that level of clearance can access the room without having to force the door. Cloning someone's security ID would be a way of accessing restricted areas, although there will be a penalty to this if you're actually caught carrying a fake ID. Another quick point here then. Frontier appear to be confirming that the Profile Analyzer has 2 modes, scanning and cloning. The Energy Link tool is another tool that comes with 2 modes. The first mode allows users to transfer energy between the suit and a target socket. We saw that happening in the heist mission, and it allowed the player to overload the door controls, granting them access to the secure room. The second mode fires a powerful electric pulse over a short distance. I would assume that this will allow players to either damage or even incapacitate a target. We haven't seen that in action though, so again, it's a case of waiting and seeing how that actually works. So there we have it, the 4 tools so far revealed. Moving on, I want to very briefly talk about the upcoming alpha. Frontier have stated that the alpha will begin on the 29th of March. Beyond that, we know very little, and at the moment there's still no date set for the full release. Frontier still haven't fully confirmed how long the alpha will last, but in a recent live stream, the community team did mention that they believed it would likely be 6 weeks. But they wanted to double check that information before being certain, and I haven't actually seen that confirmed as yet. Now, in a recent interview on the podcast System Chat by Boss Lady B and WK Jez, which by the way is a great podcast, you should check it out, there's a link in the video description, they had a elite community manager on, Bruce, as a guest. He briefly touched on the upcoming alpha, mentioning that it will roll out in increments. Beyond that, however, he was pretty vague. But that said, the confirmation that the alpha will have incremental stages is good information. There's also precedent for how this might work. The beta for Beyond Chapter 4 rolled out in phases. We can see that on screen right here. Basically, Frontier simply added a bit of content at a time, therefore ensuring that testing was targeted. And if we go all the way back to 2014 and the original beta process, that was also phased. In fact, long-time players of the game will remember that Elite Dangerous started out with just a single star system and expanded from there. Features and game mechanics were added step by step. So ultimately, whatever process Odyssey follows for the alpha, we're going to have to wait and see, but an incremental rollout is certainly a good thing to hear. That then brings us to an end of this video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.